Angry
Blessed.
customer service emails are coming back. It was not Young Kim. Pay me.
That's right. Bovada, be on the lookout.
Exactly. They've been fighting with me about this for a while. It's like I've sent a couple emails saying like, no, it actually wasn't called. I thought it was too. It's not. It's up in the air. And they're like, well, you made the incorrect selection. Therefore, this is why you got the bet wrong. It's like, I don't think so, man.
I know all about incorrect selections, but this one,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
that.
Trust
Like,
me, I have experience on your fine website making incorrect selections. It is it's a pastime of mine. This was not one of those times though. So, about to get that money back. Smashed on election night. I had a bunch of it was like 4 or 5 to 1 for 52 Senate seats for the Republicans ultimately that I think is going to hit. That looked like it was gone. That looked like it was going to be like 55 or 56. Some I don't
so now
know.
you got some money to play with
Yeah.
for the showdown slate tonight.
Showdown slate tonight. Had one last night. Went pretty. I had a good showdown slate actually. It made up. My main slate was fine. It was like ultimately really uneventful. I literally was like within 0.2% of break even. And then 5x to $100 on Showdown. That always feels good for so I made a tiny profit this week.
Yeah, I was telling you before the show, I also was middling, did fine, but I did it in a bizarre way. I broke even on tournaments and cash,
Yeah, that's
which
never happening again.
is just so bizarre. Like I had good enough tournament lines to erase them, and cash I was right, depending on which double up or head to head I was in, I won and lost them at a pretty even rate. Obviously we're gonna do a little recap here, but we're gonna jump into Showdown pretty quickly because this is a pretty good one, I guess. I prefer, like Raiders, Niners, but for the rest of you people,
Yeah,
this
it's a
is
big
Warrior
one for
Speed.
it's a
Normal
big
people.
one. It's going to be a weird one because there's so many people to pay out for. But thank you for tuning in. If you're out there, this is From A to B, presented to you by Osmo.com. I'm Andrew. I got Ben with me. If you're watching on YouTube and you don't mind liking, that would be much appreciated. Happy holiday week.
Yeah.
Big one. A lot of stuff coming up. We got full slate, not full slate, but the traditional Thanksgiving slate. Has DraftKings released the slates on Thanksgiving?
They have.
Is it 3 showdowns?
No, thank God. It's a big showdown for the Saints Falcons.
I'm kind of shocked they're not doing 3 showdowns, but
I'm sure they'll have, but it won't be. It's not. They do have a big 3 game, which I was somewhat. It's sad that I was worried about that. But no, they.
I need my equity back for these 3 games. Remember, like how much we used to trash on whether it was even worth playing a 3-game slate because there weren't enough decisions to make.
Yeah, those days are. The slate's too big now. It's like, what is this? I have to wait all day.
Yeah, how am I gonna deal with all of these people? There's like, oh god, I don't know.
But yeah, on that
53
note,
guys, the team.
yeah, it's gonna be good. Quick note. So for everyone watching, I know Tuesdays, most of you are like, don't need this show. They're going golf.
Psych.
Golf's on break. Psych. Thanksgiving 3-game football show tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I would hope that you would come on back, check that out because the holidays busy, and the games start at noon. It's hard to do it Thursday morning. So we will be doing a full breakdown of these 3 turkey games tomorrow at 2:30 on the normal show.
Yes, absolutely. Main slates. Yeah, that will be our primary show from Osmo. There may be something on Thursday morning. We're still ironing out the details on that. But that will be the big one. Programming now, we'll have projections running for Thursday. So those of you that want to do that, I think I'm going to try to have them just before. Normally I put them up Tuesday night. I'm going to, just for Thanksgiving, I'm going to try to do them tomorrow morning so that we can have those up before we start the show tomorrow. But yeah, that's the Osmo.com big Thanksgiving preview show is us tomorrow at 2:30. There is no golf tournament this week. There is a silly match. We're going to talk about it a little bit.
Oh.
Not today, but we are going to write up a little silliness about. We have an idea for an article about Tiger v. Phil.
Yeah, that's on the back burner, but we will certainly have some fun with that. It's a fun little thing. I think it'll drive interest in golf, which is cool because some of that will carry over to when it really matters, which is in January.
Absolutely. What's up, Michael? How are we doing? El Canado Anthony Miller game last night, almost. Yeah, it was was big. I was actually close. I think I was like an Anthony Miller from Taylor Gabriel one away from the team. There was a guy that won that soloed first, so good for him. 200 grand.
He left a lot on the table, which that's one of the ways.
That's how you get different, yeah. And then the big train that tied for second, which was like 10K or so, I would have had that. But I mean, even looking at it, mine was only 11 lineups, so I'll take that 1v1 with 5. There's 5 times as many teams on the other one or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I forget exactly the breakdown, but 11 is more like in the 50K range if you come first with that. So would have liked that.
It was. I actually had the one thing I got right last night. I had a lot of Gabriel, and that was good. I didn't play a ton, didn't have the right captains, and I was fine in the sense that we talk about this. Showdown's usually a complete disaster if you don't get it right. I avoided that, so these are certainly entries I will roll over to tonight. Not that those tournaments aren't big enough because it's usually like $1 million guaranteed. This is 1.5 tonight. Massive, massive tournaments for Rams Chiefs.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, Diggs
he garbaged it up. Yeah, for sure.
You're the captain of the Diggs captain, though. Like you always are on them, and it's true. As good as Thielen is cooled off. Obviously, Diggs is the guy though that really has that nuclear gear most weeks.
Diggs is a not to be like super. I don't want this. I'm not trying to get hot takey on a Monday morning, but Diggs is the better player. He gets more attention. Thielen has people who are covering Thielen have a tougher job because Thielen's running out of the slot, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. Slot corner is brutally difficult position to play.
Saw Keenan Allen yesterday. Put him in a body bag.
Oh hell yeah, dude! But Diggs is the guy who's getting. There's always a safety look in Diggs' way, and that's a big part of why Thielen gets some of these easier releases. Steph Diggs is a phenomenal athlete. There's a reason Thielen wasn't drafted. He's amazing. He's probably one of the 10 best receivers in football, but so is Diggs, and Diggs is probably a spot or two higher. That's all I'm saying. That's about it. Thanksgiving food rankings. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll put that on the docket.
We will definitely do that.
I'm sure you have some robot takes.
Not robot takes. I'm not not to sound like one of those people, but I will not have. I'll have maybe a little turkey on Thanksgiving, but I will have probably a steak or a lobster. That's more my speed for Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's odd. For me, it's more just like if I'm in full DGAF mode and it's like I can just eat whatever and I'm not really worried about calories or I eat a fair amount of meat because like the protein's good for you and it's like you can eat less calories. But like I'll like if it was all the same as a boy of Irish descent, I would eat like I would eat mashed potatoes and gravy with like carrots on it like all the time. That's delicious. It just doesn't make you feel great and it's not very good for you.
All right, before we jump into this, we did have one random question from chat. An NBA one. Giannis or AD tonight on a hunch? You have a take there?
Let me check. I have not looked at the specific matchups, but I have NBA projections.
I would say AD personally, but that's just me.
What are they playing? I put all of this in, but
go to your projection. This is one of the many benefits of being behind the paywall at Osimo.
Yeah, we'll give out a little tidbit here.
Who's tonight's better play? We're going to jump into this game tonight. Obviously, the over-under is just absurd. It's uncharted territory. And you got a good appetizer, not a plug for anything, but great college basketball today. So if you people are able to watch, you should check it out. Maui Invitational. Good games all day. Duke plays at 4:30.
In Hawaii?
Yep. I hope they lose.
Who doesn't
Robinson?
Duke loses at all times.
Yeah, I'm not a Duke fan. My Robinson stack propelled me to 40th place. Very nice. Is this the NHL stream? No, that will be next. I think it's after our show at 4:00.
Yep. 2 of 3 of our I don't know exactly who's on today, but we got 2 of 3 of our boys, Homer Cleves and Vots, who we worked with at FanVice, and then the inimitable Jake Hari over here, who also does the NHL projections.
All right. Do you got that? And then I want to dive right into these jangles because there's a lot to break down. This is some of these showdown slates we talk about, you can kind of pick who you want. This is you're even in a 1-game sample, you're not going to be able to take there's too many superstars on these teams. This is you're going to feel pretty nervous. You're leaving someone out no matter how you structure, regardless of captain.
Okay. I got Giannis by a wide margin today, buddy.
Okay.
Which that's surprising to me. Davis is normally going to be Giannis. It's probably the pace up nature of the Denver game. See how it goes.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I get the contextual factors of Davis playing more playing more at center against San Antonio. Is that what you're looking at, or
I don't know.
He would play more power forward in that situation.
I wasn't even thinking that. Just back to back, tough game with Warriors yesterday. Big win. I think the Pelicans as a whole have a big game.
All right.
Didn't also that was more on a whim. So
like it.
All right, let's get into this. Do you have any initial takes before we actually dive into the plays, just on how you're approaching a game with a 65 over under? Is it any different?
Cautiously, yeah. I mean, it is different because, I mean, the trouble here that we don't necessarily always see, especially and I'm sort of with you in that Giants Niners is almost nicer because there aren't as many people to pay up for, and here there are, there's 6-7 dudes that are very expensive that you would like to play, and you can't play 5 of them in a lineup unless you take a total dumpster dive at captain. So this game is very susceptible to being broken wide open. If, N. Williams, who literally was popping in the projections a little bit as someone you should use as captain, because I have him for a projection of 4 points, and then you turn that into 6.5 at your captain spot, and then you can pay up for Goff, Mahomes, Gurley, Hunt, Woods, Reek. Play 5 of those guys.
I would imagine that you're going to see a multitude of lineups that just go complete punt at captain.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the only way. Yeah. That's my overarching sort of theme of the night is be careful, because if the total punt catches a 55-yard touchdown, it's not going to be like in that Green Bay game where that tight end that no one had ever heard of was owned in 10 lineups out of 100,000+.
Mm-hmm.
The total crappy punts are all going to be owned, and they're all going to be in captain slots. So if Nick Williams or whoever scores a 50-yard touchdown, that'll break the slate right there. Spencer Ware breaks one,
Yeah, there's also within punts, obviously, there's a big difference between guys who are not handcuffed running backs, backup receivers, and guys who are just made up. That's those guys you may be able to get low, but it's not worth taking them. But yeah, Conley, Demarcus Robinson, Ware, people like that.
Demetrius Harris.
Yeah, all it takes is one of them and they're on the field. Some of them actually are on the field a ton. That's going to be the key in terms of just the lineup construction, because when you take that guy, if you get his piece, you are going to be rolling with predominantly 5 other really good players.
Yeah. And that's the argument for it. These guys are not going to be the highest scorers on the night, but if one of them scores 10 and then every one of these other guys scores 30, pretty good shape. And I mean, several of them are projecting close to 30, or in Gurley's case and Mahomes' case, over 30. That's insane.
No, this is going to be one too, and not that this should deter anyone, but if you're only playing 1 or 2 lineups, there's a real chance that you're just done in 10 minutes because there's so many guys that could just go nuclear to the point where you're just playing a showdown with them. And they're part of the optimal immediately, whereas some of these lower scoring games, even if a guy gets an early touchdown, it's not a given that they stay part of it. But some of these guys, yeah, I mean, you just said it. Those projections are out of control. That doesn't even sound right, even though it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gurley's projection is almost 34. It's the highest of the year. I think he cracked 30 once earlier, and Kamara cracked 30 once earlier, and those were literally the highest projections I'd ever seen. He's at nearly 34. It's just going to be bananas. Couple of things from the chat. People talking about FanDuel. What we're with the MVP slot. obviously what we were saying about like using a total shitbird as your captain does not apply on FanDuel because there is no chance that Ben Williams outscores Patrick Mahomes. It's just not going to happen. And where the salary doesn't matter, you want to play the best players at the best spots. And then also Sammy Watkins is unlikely to play.
Yeah, doubtful. What does that really do to the slate? I mean, they spread it around enough. It bumps up. Those are the punts who are going to be really popular. They're playing a ton of snap. They're awful. Well, I even on the mean slate, I reached a little for, I believe it was Conley, and was burnt by it. Nothing massive, but I tried to. It is tough. I mean, they don't need to fill that. Someone's going to be out there, of course, but the production isn't drastically altered. They can just roll it to Kelsey Hill, obviously Kareem.
Yeah, I think it more gets redistributed amongst those three good players as opposed to as much with Conley and Harris. And Harris is live for a touchdown, I suppose. I bet they run more 2 wide receivers, 2 tight end sets. We'll see what happens. It does, but yeah, it's gonna make stupid Chris Conley, who they've also priced at $1,200, so it's like a reasonable idea. It's gonna make him crazy popular, and that guy, has like an 11-point ceiling. But at $1,200, if he lets you buy everyone else, 11 points is great tonight.
What do you think? We did just have a question about Spencer Ware. Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, I know we're kind of jumping around, but I do think hitting on these Kansas City cheapies a little. He's had some decent games. He's certainly live to find the end zone. They use a lot of formations. Hunt and him can be on the field together. Yeah. This is just. And I haven't built just yet. I've played around with it. This does just feel it because the over-under is so high. It feels like a slate where even if you got Spencer Ware perfectly right and he gives you 9 or 10, it might not be enough. If there's a balanced build that gets a little more.
But how do you build with balance without this is, I think sorry, I don't mean to answer the question I asked you, but I think the one way you're hoping balance works is if Todd Gurley scores 20 points tonight. That's the only way it's working, though.
Yeah, I guess I think for me, macro plan, and this is what I plan to do. I don't know how feasible it is to hedge Gurley. I don't know. I want to say it's a reverse hedge, but I'm going to use him in the captain if he goes nuclear, and then I'm going to fade him completely on some teams and build balance, and hope that he either has a middling game and that will hurt my captain spots, help the other ones, or if he goes captain insano, having him not as my captain is going to kill me just as much as not having him in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is, like I said, I love this game. It's an awesome game. Can't wait to watch it. I think this is the hardest showdown slate of the entire year to break down.
I do too. And it's a fun game. It's going to be fun to watch, but there's not a lot of ways to differentiate that are intelligent. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's always the risk. You want to be different, but you don't want to do something stupid to be different. Taking a guy who has no chance, best case scenario, he gets 1 target in a game like this seems even more suboptimal, in my opinion.
Okay. There's also some talk out there about what Rams will do, what role, who slides directly into what Cooper Kupp was doing, etc. I wouldn't worry about it at all. They all line up all over the field. So, I think Woods will get the most slot snaps. I think Cooks will play the most outside. Cooks always had, even in New England, I remember being sort of frustrated they didn't run Cooks a little more in the slot last year just because he's basically Julian Edelman but faster. But I guess there's more to knowing the playbook and stuff with that. But just physically, he and Julian Edelman are almost the exact same in almost every drill except for the 40, where Cooks is quite a bit faster. So but they play. They're all going to play everywhere, so I wouldn't really sweat it too much.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. But Kupp being out will obviously Josh Reynolds is going to get a boost in ownership. I totally see that. I think he's fine. Not super into it. The kickers are there.
But I don't think you can play. I don't think 2 kickers I don't think a kicker lets you play 5 monster studs around it, even if you play him at captain.
No, it doesn't let you play 5 monster studs, but you can. The problem with a kicker in this game is there's a real chance if it gets going early, both coaches subconsciously are just like no field goals. Like 4th and 2, 4th and 1, they're going to be going for it. If these teams can't stop each other, field goals become somewhat obsolete unless it's in a specific, like, you're down 3 or you need one. Not saying that happens, but when you roster a kicker, you either hope it's low scoring or they take advantage of every single chance. If they lose a couple chances, that's a death sentence. So I do worry about that a little in a game like this.
Yeah, even if you play both kickers and you put Gurley or Mahomes in the captain spot, you're going to have to punt somewhere. It's so gross.
All right. Let's see. Do you have any interest in punting with the defense?
I sort of get it because it takes 35 points for a defense to really hurt you. And both of these, I'm not really interested in the Chiefs. I'm more interested in the Rams. And I don't think either defense is good, but the Rams at least do things that cause turnovers.
So for me, I'm with you. I have absolutely zero interest in the Chiefs. So queue up. Oh, Chris Harris touches somewhat Chris Jones touchdown, just end me. But I think the Rams defense is one of my favorite punts. Now I know there's a ton of risk there. They are talk about live for -3. Okay. Yes. Having said that, you use them not even in the captain spot. You compare 5 upper echelon guys in this game.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I'm definitely, and this is one you don't worry about using. Obviously, you can go Chiefs onslaught and Rams defense because you are just literally banking for a pick 6 or a turnover. So the points are going to be irrelevant.
Absolutely, and we say we say this a lot on Showdown. And honestly, I don't even really hate it on like main slate or especially on shorter slates. It's a little. They are negatively correlated for sure because an offense scoring points does hurt that defense, but not that much. And between 14 and 34 points is a difference of 2 points. So if they're in there, it doesn't really matter. So Mahomes could easily throw for... And we see this like Blake Bortles. What was the game where Bortles scored like 30 fantasy points and threw 4 picks?
That was against the Chiefs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Definitely. It was in Arrowhead. I distinctly remember because I had Bortles and I was like, what a disaster. And then I looked, he had 27 and it's like, all right. Yep. As we've said many times, not that we're doing a recap.
Right.
Look at Jacksonville yesterday. They controlled the game, and Bortles was terrible because he didn't have to go crazy.
Yeah. And Mahomes is awesome for sure, but like he is mistake prone. We've started to see it more. It was really weird how few mistakes he made the first couple weeks, and the Rams have the best defensive player in football. So, and he's just a one-man wrecking crew. You also, like even more so this year, you can't just ignore the other people. Like, Sue needs a little attention too. So it's a tough, and that's it. That's all they got for good players on the defense other than one of the safeties. But they, Donald can get to people, can get to anyone. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked a little about, these cheapies. It's even harder to talk about the top guys because they're all obviously in play. We know that. Do you have a preference on maybe one that you're a little not skeptical of, but like for me, it's Tyreek Hill. I know he's going to be very popular. I will certainly have some with him in the captain spot, but overall, I bet I come in underweight.
That's interesting. He's one of those guys that to me, like he's my favorite play of these guys. But that said, I could still see coming in underweight on it if he's... And it's hard because it's hard to get ownership projections on these. It's almost like when we talk about often whether we're underweight or overweight on someone based on the dollar amounts we're playing them, not just the percentage of lineups they're in, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like if someone's in your high-stakes lineup, like that is a greater proportion. So you don't necessarily need to be, or if you've got some guy in your high-stakes lineup and in 30% of your milli lineups, like those Millie lineups don't really count compared to that. So it's like you actually have like 60% exposure to him. Tyreek Hill is someone I could see being potentially underweight. If he's 60% owned, I could see potentially being underweight on him relative to the field, but overweight on him really because I'm playing him mostly a captain. You know what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I get.
Because I can get more points than the field does on Tyreek Hill because I'm going to play him where I play him a lot at captain.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get that. No, that's pretty much what I was saying. It's someone who said this in chat. It was a good point. Mike just said he's a dangerous man because he's at the top. He's the poster boy for the 75-yard just laser touchdown.
Yeah.
I feel like that fits the captain spot perfectly.
Yeah.
Like he's so, of course, could he have a middling game? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, he's live for the game ending, slate ending, which is captain, or he's a little quiet and that's a fade. So I'll roll the dice there.
I think on a macro scale, like the wide receivers are the guys who want to be playing in the captain spot.
In a game like this?
In just about any game. Like unless you're playing, we've talked about this a little bit, how to do it with the quarterback. Like you want the quarterback and the captain if you're playing like 3 of his weapons with him. Because then you're hoping he spreads it out a little bit. But overall, yeah, I think it's the wide receiver. I mean, I'm always playing Diggs and captain. And like, I just think the wide receivers have by far the highest upside. And they're usually not going to be, like the wide receivers in this game are not going to be as popular as Gurley, Hunt, Mahomes, and Goff.
So
right?
I'm with you. I agree with that in macro. This game makes it tougher in the sense that I don't consider either of these running backs because they catch so many balls. The quarterbacks for me, there's a real chance I don't have any Mahomes or Goff in the captain spot. I don't see that tonight.
Yeah.
Those guys are left behind. These running backs, it's conceivable that one of them catches 10 balls, and it's like, okay, that changes everything. So I'm going to have certainly Gurley and Kareem Hunt as people that I look to in captains. But the guys, the quarterbacks, and I don't think punts, even though it opens it up, are going to be – I think you need a really good captain tonight to take you there.
Yeah. Unless N. Williams has one 80-yarder.
Well, yes, but I still think
that's the only argument against it. I could see Josh Reynolds as a captain, but that's as low as I'd like to go because he's actually going to be on the field quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean we've seen him catch. He caught 2, I think, in that one game. I would so much rather take it's not even a cheap captain, but like you can take Woods, Kelsey, someone like that who are on the lower end of salary for the studs as captain. And then you can punt pretty freely and build around that. Like no problem. It fits pretty easily. Mm-hmm. And then you're not it's not like Woods, Kelsey, someone like that. They, all these guys have monster games. The way these offenses spread it around, it's take your turn. Yes. Yeah, when Malcolm Brown just somehow comes from the top rope. I would rather. I mean, I think most people would say this. If I have to take one of like the lesser skill positions, I'm gonna roll with a guy who's on the field more. Probably one of those bozo wide receivers, something like that, or a kicker, even though. Ugh.
I mean, I'm big on Reynolds to do that with. I think they play a little bit. I think they'll play a little bit more 2 tight end sets, but the Rams play. I'm looking at the Sharp Football where they give you the personnel groupings. The Rams, everyone plays like 70-80% 3 wide receiver sets now, but they play 98%. Which is significantly higher than anyone else. Yeah, no Cup changes that potentially a little bit, but I think they're still going to do what they do.
No. So the thing is, I'm just looking at the salaries right now. Because Sammy Watkins, I'm going to say he's out at this point. Assume he is.
Yeah.
There's a giant dead zone. You have the last playable skill, like top end guy is Travis Kelce at 7,400.
And then it's Reynolds.
At 48. So it's there's no like pure balance where you could take like, oh, I'm gonna take a couple 5K guys. Like that doesn't exist on this slate. It's trying to funnel you to stars and scrubs, honestly, like, which is what people I think want to do, because you want to be able to jam in like Mahomes, Gurley, and Tyreek. That makes it that's an interesting wrinkle here with, because like someone like Sammy Watkins would change the slate a lot just from a lineup building perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, where are we at? Yeah, so this is a point real quick. Hunter just brought this up in the chat on the crazy Patriots Chiefs showdown that was like 90 points. Both kickers were on that optimal lineup.
It was Osmos. It was the boss man's.
Oh, there we go.
Right? Isn't that the one? I'm pretty sure that's the one he won on.
Yeah, I think you're actually right.
And we made fun of it afterwards. Which
it's just not. I don't think I'll put it like this: when you make that lineup, I can tell you for certain, if you knew that was the game script, you would never build that type of lineup. It's anti-conducive for a shootout. Can it happen? Well, it happened, so yes, it can. But I would be hesitant if you think this game goes over this total to go double kicker. I don't see any way that would make sense. Simple as that. If you think it's maybe a grind it out in the sense they only get in the 50s, then yeah, it becomes more playable.
Right. Kickers happen when the offense stalls.
Yes.
And that was, I'm sure you just said this, but I was reading the chat and just reiterate, like that Pats Chiefs game only scored 83 points. That should have been a 100-point game. The way those teams were moving the ball, they both stalled a lot in the red zone and kicked field goals. That's not going to usually happen in such a big spot. Some Gerald Everett chatter out there. I feel that he's a really good athlete. I think he's a good player. I've always been a little higher on him than Higbee. I think Higbee's out there more because he's the better blocker and they like to run the ball. I could see an argument that he plays a little bit more, but it's almost like him being the slot guy. I think they're still going to try to do 3 wide receiver sets. But yeah, there's an argument he could maybe take a little from Reynolds, and I think he'll be considerably less popular. So,
yeah, those guys, have gotten a little more involved as of late. Everett is he's not. It's not like we talked about. I think it was something like Evan Ingram, who's like but he's kind of a hybrid. He's more of a receiving threat than most. Certainly not a pure blocker. And in a game like this, there's going to be plenty to go around. So not bad at all in terms of a punt.
Would make sense too with Everett being big. Like they use Cup a ton in the red zone. So yeah, I could see that argument. Reynolds is pretty big too, though, if I remember correctly. But yeah, they could split it up a little bit. And Everett's, I think the main argument here is Everett's half the price and he's probably going to be less popular. So yeah. Why not?
God, there's so many made up people at the bottom of this. Who's Dion Yelder? Never heard that name in my life.
Jay Natson Jr.
JoJo. Hey, that's Utah State man. I've used that guy in.
Played Jay Natson Sr. in.
Back in the day.
Yeah, Stratomatic.
Where got 30% snaps? Yeah, where? I don't know. For me, unless that he's a little cheaper than the guys we've kind of previously just talked about. If there's not a tangible bump to what I can do, I have him distinctly behind the guys like the tight ends, even the Rams defense, Reynolds. I'd much rather go there than Spencer Ware.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. Ware's had his moments, but
no doubt. It's just I feel like some of his moments have been because they get out in front and they get ahead. It's not like he's not on the field. I'm not saying that, but it's tricky in a game like this if you don't have a guaranteed workload.
And they're not going to beat the shit out of the Rams.
No, I would be stunned. This is a fascinating game, though, at the same time. We'll make a prediction at the end of it. Whatever I say, I wouldn't wager $1 on it. I do not have a clue of what the hell this game is going to be.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. To watch it. That's not true, man. We have a pretty good idea what this game is going to be. It's going to be a shootout. These defenses are both bad.
Who comes out on top? Absolutely. I think we all think.
It's the two best offenses, and two of the. I mean, the Chiefs are like a bottom 5 defense, and the Rams are in the bottom half of the league. They've got a lot of talent, but they just, injuries have really messed with them. Peters is a shell of himself. Talib's not there. It's just
who's the Sheen of the night? Yeah, that guy finally came back for the Bears.
Yeah, that was cool. You remember he I don't think he almost died, but there was talk of him it being life threatening last year after he. Yeah.
I think you're thinking of Zach Miller, but the tight end when his leg fell off in the end zone.
Yeah. Oh, is that a different guy?
Yeah, that's Zach Miller, who was the man. He used to be on the Raiders. Good guy.
Yeah, I knew it was hurt too. I knew it was a Bears tight end.
Yeah, that was no. I mean, it wasn't life threatening, but you're right. That was a crazy injury.
Yeah, well, it was he caught that touchdown, and then that's a touchdown this year.
And then they
reversed it.
Just give it to him. The guy lost his leg almost.
Yeah, and then it was oh, this is really bad. And then they brought him to the hospital, and then there's reports there that they might amputate his leg.
Mm-hmm. Kudos to the Bears. They did something where they kept him on the roster, paid him for that this year. Respect. I like we have a couple people in chat asking about Chris Conley and Everett, and I think both of those are very viable in terms of the cheap guys.
I'd much rather play Everett personally.
I would too, but I don't even mind a lineup with both of them if you want to go Gurley at captain.
Yep. Conley's tough because he does not get a whole lot of action. Man.
But he's on the field more than all these guys.
Yeah.
With no Watkins. Mm-hmm. Demarcus Robinson, I mean, it's kind of the same story as Conley. He also doesn't see much. He sees less snaps. It's tough. I mean, there's not a tangible difference. He is pretty damn cheap. I don't mind it. I mean, especially if you think that more people will go to Conley. I don't think there's a tangible difference between them two, honestly.
No, I don't think so either.
All right.
I wanted to like Chris Conley back in the day too. I feel like I had some good combine numbers or something, but yeah, he's just not a dude who does much. That said, who knows? Maybe he pulls off that Adam Humphries week a couple weeks ago.
Adam Humphries had a couple of good plays yesterday. That Jameis. Andrew Ben, who has a higher combined ceiling, Watkins, Hunter, Hill, Higbee? Well, it's not the first one because Sammy Watkins ain't going to play. So
true story.
Don't do that. Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be, I think I know we've said a lot, and it's tough with Showdown because you don't want to say everything. Don't want to do that because you end the show and you're just what the hell did they even just say besides me spewing a little nonsense? I think the real stance that I want to take is no QB in the captain spot. And then a little more balance in the sense that I don't think I'm going to reach for an extreme punt on many teams. And maybe I sacrifice and I have to take one of the lower end captains from the real good guys. I'm willing to do that in a game like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I'm pretty scared of. There's not a lot of $200 players I want to play. That said, one of them, it often happens where one of them. But there's just enough. There's enough guys with real roles and real names that we're gonna need to see some injuries, I think, for these total trash birds to start popping. But
and I mean it's hard to bank on that. And
is there a guy at the top you're most likely to fade? I don't think general idea Showdown. I don't think fading people is a very good idea when there's only 12 of them in play in the first place.
That's the thing. It's
come under.
Oh, absolutely. If you're playing, I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but someone like Osimo obviously is really sharp at everything, but Showdown especially, I would venture to say he rarely, if ever, has 0% of a viable guy at the top. You don't want to do that. You want to build a portfolio. This is what that concept is perfect for. So, as I said, Tyreek Hill is a guy where I'm 100% going to have some shares. I'm going to 100% have him in the captain in teams. But if he is one of the more popular guys on the slate, and I think he will be, I don't think I think I'm going to have him in 60% of my lineups. That's a guy I'm okay with taking a dip of and then hoping actually that those lineups are sacrificed.
Okay. Yeah, I just think this is such a good spot for him. I'm more likely to come in underweight on Kareem Hunt personally.
Okay, yeah. See, that's where I'm definitely gonna have Hunt like him a lot. So
yeah, that's fair. I really like Kelsey, and that Kelsey price tag is just kind of insane too.
That's one of the guys where I'm like, you can go with him at the captain, and you're obviously not punting, but you are saving.
Yeah.
And his upside is monstrous.
Yeah, and specifically how the Rams cover too. Not that they can really cover anybody anywhere on the field at this point, but they're atrocious over the middle of the field. Their linebackers are truly horrible.
Do we have an extreme punt? If I had to take an extreme punt, I would not go lower than Demarcus Robinson. I don't see much down there. I'll let other people chase that.
Yes, Anthony Sherman's still playing. I feel like that's too crazy though. I think it's Nick Williams just because he is the fourth wide receiver. He'll be out there a bit. $200. Yeah. I'm not going to do a ton of that, but I think he is in that, like we were just talking about, the full fade versus the underweight. Like, I think you can, if you're playing 100 lineups, I think playing 5 or 10 Nick Williams lineups is probably pretty smart. I wouldn't jam him in. There's a really good fancy bagels, but at $200, like, it only takes one.
Oh yeah, I mean, we see that time and time again. And some of these tournaments, they're even bigger than usual because they pumped up the prize pools. Obviously, that's going to make being you not even unique, but you're going to have more dupes on lineups that are closer to zero. So keep that in mind. It's a tough slate because this is one where every dollar honestly counts. Like leaving 7,000 on the table here is brutal because you're sacrificing a mega stud versus a punt. Game like this, that's going to be really tough to get away with.
Yeah.
Like
I take that back about Nick Williams. I don't want to do that. That's too much. It's too much. And the thing is, like, Josh Reynolds never picked up any targets when he was the fourth wide receiver, like ever. And I think you've got two guys sort of fighting for that number 3 wide receiver spot in Reynolds and Gerald Everett anyway. So then you're looking at Williams being way out. That's just a straight gimmick play. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I think
his picture too.
I know. I was expecting a ghost.
Does not look like an NFL wide receiver.
Well, that's like
balding a little bit, you know.
Yeah, looks like an accountant.
Yeah.
I just think for predominantly what you could accomplish with that, you could accomplish with Demarcus Robinson. And that's not even my preferred build. As I said, I think you still can go a little more quote unquote balanced. And then in some places I will jam Gurley and I can't. Let's see. I'm going to go to the lobby. I actually want to see what we got here. We got $11. That's the big tournament. 160,000 people. 250K up top. Then we got, and I'm not breaking news here, but, people in a one-game slate, being able to, MME is really nice because you can build, and it's more preferable. The $3 is only a 20 max, so that's a cool way. As most people know, you can't use 150, forces you to make some stands there. That's 250K guaranteed. Then you got the 222, which I guess takes the $180 that we've seen. That's a 200,000, and then various other things. A luxury box, 4-point stance.
The Showdown. Don't forget the Showdown Championship double qualifier.
Last chance. I feel like every week is the last chance for the King of the Beach or one of these things.
Yeah, I haven't played it. I went after that golf thing this summer, and it was just so tilting. So many second places didn't get.
It's tough.
I don't really go. I've never historically really gone for qualifiers.
Me neither.
Much at all.
I did bubble a seat to King of the Beach, not a real seat. And then they're like, oh, you could buy in directly. No thanks, brah. Anyway, yeah, this is a night too. If especially on like FanDuel, if a pretty generic lineup hits, you're going to be splitting with thousands of your close friends.
Oh yeah, like the over/under on the winning on what the winning GPP lineup pulls in on FanDuel is like $110 or something.
It's like not that. Good. Oh yeah, just a quick, because this is a 2-man full hour showdown slate is tricky. We're doing the best I can. Just a public service announcement. I've seen this in our Slack. I've seen this elsewhere. When you are on DraftKings and you search the name on the left, that is only showing you the top 500 people. Keep that in mind, because I think some people get confused and they think, oh, this person only has a lineup or two. And it's like, no. That's the lineups in the top 500. So tonight there's a real chance that at some points it's all just ones if there's a giant dupe. And you're not going to see too much from there. But I don't know if everyone knew that. I thought that was common knowledge, but apparently not.
What, that you can only see the top 500?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so export the CSV if you want to break it down. And I do think that's, we on the show, we do try to talk not just slate specific. Don't just look at the winning lineups for people. That's cool, but you want to see what they did. A lot of times, I know, Andrew, you can speak to this. You win with a lineup that you're actually underweight on the guys. Like, it's like, oh, I didn't think you liked these guys. And it's like, I didn't. That lineup was not the lineup I built. You build all different combinations, and you got to take the full picture.
I almost won the damn golf lotto this weekend with a Charles Howell team.
Chucky 3 sticks.
Yeah,
there you go.
That was kind of a bummer. I was having a good week with that. But question about Kansas City 2 tight end sets. They are pretty high up there, actually. 21%, which is one of the higher percentages in the league. Rams ran more too. I'm not seeing that. I mean, I believe it. The other thing too is like, even if Everett's, whatever. I guess this is incidental anyway. But yes, Everett and Reynolds, I think, are both. The more I'm kind of looking at this, I think they're sort of equally in play. Reynolds, I think, I would certainly take Reynolds if you're giving me even odds bet here on who scores more fantasy points tonight. But I think when you're taking the half price consideration of Everett and the
ownership,
most likely quite a bit lower ownership, pretty into Everett.
Okay. Yeah, we had a Conley versus DeMarcus Robinson, which is going to be a common question today. Straight up, I would say Conley. If there's an inkling or some reason I think that DeMarcus Robinson is going to be less owned, it would be him, because I don't have either of those guys project. I don't really see a big difference between them in truth.
I'm trying to avoid both of them, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think I'd
rather play Demetrius Harris because he's got red zone looks.
I will say, every little bit helps. If those two guys say they both bagel, you take out not massive chunk of the field, but they're not going to be low owned by any stretch. No. Those are going to be common punts.
I think, I would say, 12, 15%.
Absolutely.
On both of them at least. And Conley could get to 20.
It's like a third of the field. If between the two of them, that's not bad. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Osmo.com says sign up for a 1-week membership to Osmo.com using code from A to B. That's our code. I agree.
It's true. I'm gonna do it. Don't need to, but I'm gonna do it. Yeah. You should try it out for a week. Why not? It's a great week to do it too, because of the Thursday. It's gonna be a mad scramble. 3 good games. Will I survive the Lions game? History says no. I'm dead after the first game every year on Thanksgiving. Every year. And now Trubisky's in it, so I actually have no hope.
Well, I don't. 3 of the last 4 years or whatever, there was the Marvin Jones just broke the slate very early. No one played him because Xavier Rhodes. What was 2 years ago?
I think Theo Riddick.
Okay.
I think I was on.
There was years of Calvin Johnson, will he or won't he? And he screwed us all one year, and then the next year he gets the triple dong game. It's like,
yep, man. It's been bad. All right. So we have talked about this a lot. Do you want to talk a little just about the betting side of it?
Sure.
It's such a unique game. With this over under, we really truly have never seen something like this. getting up the line. Right now, I got it at my book is -3, -115 for the Rams. So the Rams are a 3-point favorite. The total's at 63. If I had to bet the game, I would bet the Rams. Just think their defense is a little better and at home.
And their offense is a little better too, hot take.
Okay. No, I mean, I agree with that. I think both of us are on that possible island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Rams are the best team. And the Chiefs just are not going to be able to stop them. I think it should be more than 3 points. But
I'm interested to see if it steams a little. Because obviously when you're on a key number like that half point is crucial. Like 3 to 3.5 is not the same as like, a different number.
Yep.
Eric Ebron day. Thank God we don't have to deal with that. God, you're going to have more Harris than I do, I think.
Demetrius? Yeah, are you going to have any?
Maybe a sliver because you like him, but not anything meaningful.
It's not something I'm in love with. I just think that's like he's a hard matchup for the Rams to defend because they're really bad over the middle of the field, and he occasionally sees some red zone looks. I'd rather get that than, 3 targets of indeterminate length for Chris Conley and Demarcus Robinson.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's obviously the red zone looks are worth infinitely more. I don't love the idea of taking any of these bozos, but you're gonna have to. I understand that. Good boy. All right. What else we got? Everett or Ware preference? I think we both prefer Gerald Everett, right?
Yeah. You have a bet on the over/under? What is it up to? About it was like 63.5. Has that changed?
Mine says 63.
All right.
If I had to bet the over/under, I would bet the under.
That's a ton of points.
I
know it's like very easy for it to be like, well, it could be 40 to 37. Like, sure.
Yes, or not. No, I mean, my thought, and again, I'm not betting the over/under, which shows I don't have much confidence in it. When it's that high, being able to stop the team, not that it's irrelevant, but if there are methodical drives, that can do it in itself in the NFL. Like in college, part of the reason the totals get so high is when you make a first down, the clock stops to reset the chains. In the NFL, that does not happen. So if the Rams are, say they were using Gurley and it's not high, you could take 5-6 minute drives easily. That's a lot of points. All it takes is one long drive with a turnover, and you're in trouble if you have that over.
71% of the public money is on the Chiefs.
Yeah, now I'm definitely closer.
Above the Rams.
Yeah, I'm certainly closer to betting the Rams.
The line has moved in the Rams' favor, but I don't know how much of that. Like, it's hard to tell. This is something that's I know you're working on a betting series right now, but it can be hard to tell with the reverse line movement how much of that is okay. So the public money's on the Chiefs. The line is moving in the Rams' favor. Some of that is from the game moving from Mexico City to LA. But LA also has 0 home field advantage because no one gives a shit about him here at all.
Yes. Definitely did affect the line, though. And that is something both of us are doing some stuff behind the scenes that you want to stay tuned for on the site. In terms of the betting circle, and reverse line movement is something not just in betting you can use in DFS. It can be very tricky to say, oh, is this reverse line movement or did someone get hurt? Oh, did they move the venue of the game? Like,
right. That's the thing. Is so like just to break it down a little more simply for people who aren't familiar with this, you can see on this chart that the 71% of the public money is on the Chiefs. The Rams opened as 2.5-point favorites. Now they're 3-point favorites. So despite the fact that more bets are coming in on the Chiefs, the line is moving the other way, which the implication on that often is that means just the number of tickets. So the public is going one way, but the big money tickets are what are going to move the line. So even though the public money is going one way, the sharp money is probably going the other way.
True story. You're going to hear us.
Not always true because in this case, it's like, oh, well, there was a venue change, and that has changed it as well.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right, and we are gonna be doing a short video on that concept, which will be on the site. You can obviously all check it out. Last thing, we gotta give a score, don't we?
Sure.
I guess mine shouldn't add to over 63. I'm gonna say pretty generic. 31-24.
You son of
Rams.
a bitch.
That's a good one.
That was legitimately what mine was, so I don't know. I guess I'll say 31-27 because I don't love, let's still get under.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I see the game going. I think the Rams win. I think they cover, and
they're a better team, and they're going to be able to control the clock.
That is the one aspect. I do think that there is a chance that McVay is just like, let's control the clock, time of possession. And if they can do that, A, it hurts the over. And B, I think that really plays into how the Rams want to attack this game in terms of win-loss.
Yeah. It's a team because the Rams against almost any other team, they're, if they're playing the Vikings, who are a good defensive team, but not like a very good offensive team, sort of, I don't know, whatever. We'll talk about Cousins some other time, but they're fine getting into a shootout with a team like that. You don't want to get into a shootout with the Chiefs, so you can avoid it.
No, and I think not that the Rams lost in the Superdome because of that, but at the same time, I don't think they come out of that game saying we want to get up and down with a team like the Saints or like the Chiefs. It's much better for them to control the clock if they can.
Right. That said, that might be the Chiefs' strategy too, and the Saints just punched them in the mouth with that in the
they were
Superdome.
home.
And the Rams don't really have a home field advantage, like we were saying before. So, not that, I don't know, there's not as many transplants. Kansas City doesn't travel as well. No offense to any Kansas City fans out there, but it's not like if New England or Philly or something like that were in LA. There's a ton of East Coast transplants in Southern California, and it doesn't really matter where you are. There's A, East Coast transplants everywhere, and B, just culturally, we've talked about this a little, but you kind of, if you're from hell, if you're from a place that's brutally cold and has bad winters, people in Chicago, Philly, New York, Boston, they just, it's just, sports is more important in those places. It's just how it is.
You tell them.
And the Rams, stop it. I mean, in LA, this is a Laker town. No one cares about the football teams, regardless.
Okay. Yeah, you should have went to UCLA, USC. You missed the game last week. It's right in your backyard.
Oh yeah. It was at the Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I live. Yep.
It was
walking distance to the Rose Bowl, which is good because I imagine it's hard to park there during one of those games. But UCLA is terrible, right?
Chip Kelly.
I don't really care.
That's all they got. But we shall see. Anyway, any last words before we get on out of here?
Michael Stein says 31-24 at halftime.
You're not
certainly in play, dude.
There's not a non-zero chance tomorrow before we start the Thanksgiving breakdown that we say that we got the score right, but it was at halftime. That's play.
And that's a real, that if it goes that way where it's just chaos shootout, that's where I don't know. That's a little scarier about how you play the punts and who gets what. And I don't know. That's because if that happens, you want 5 of these monster players on the
absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, good luck to everyone. It should be a good time. We will be back tomorrow. Our normal show with Tim where we break down golf. There's no golf for 6 weeks other than Tiger Phil this weekend, which will be funny. But tomorrow is going to be our not main slate, Thanksgiving slate, which is, it's a loaded, big, enormous 3-game slate. How are we going to have time to get through all of it?
Well, we got to talk about gravy. And we want, in addition, obviously, we hope you all stop by. We want some Thanksgiving takes, though. What is your favorite food? Am I shady for not wanting turkey on Thanksgiving? We want to talk about that as well.
Sick. Yeah, tweet at us. Our handles are on the screen. Or, you can DM us in Slack if you're Osmo people. Check it out. It'll be a good time. That it? We have any other programming notes?
No, I think that's it. We do appreciate everyone watching. As I said, give us a like on your way out. And I think tomorrow we will dive into the 3-game Thanksgiving slate. Enjoy the game tonight, everyone, though. Good showdown slate. Absolutely.
Going to be a good time. And check back for updated Brow versus Giannis takes projections at osmo.com.
Oh,
all right.